Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Soulful Solutions. And my name is Dr. Debbie Green. It's wonderful having you this morning. Before we get started, I want to ask you a question. How did you sleep last night? Is there anything bothering you? Well, I hope you actually woke up in peace. I hope you woke up in a good spirit. You know, I hope that things are working out for your good. I hope that everything that's in your life right now, as I speak, is changing for the better. Because sometimes we have so much going on and we become overwhelmed, overburdened, overstressed with everything. So just be mindful of this day. Choose a word what you want to think and feel, whatever it is. I want to be peaceful today. I want to be in joy. I want to appreciate life. I want to enjoy life. And this day, just for this day, you do everything in your power to do so. We have a wonderful show this morning. I have a wonderful guest that's here, Dr. Green. Isn't that when I found out her last name was Green, I'm like, wow, I'm introducing myself. Her name is Dr. Twin Green. And she is so enlightened, and I just want her to be able to share some wonderful nuggets with you guys this morning. Our subject matter is youth under crisis. So we're going to be talking about mental illness when it comes to the youth, as well as emotional disorders, and also giving resources that you may need. If somebody's out there that needs some help, I actually left my email there. If you're under crisis and don't know what to do, if something is overwhelming to you with your child and you don't know where to turn, well, this is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to receive the help that you need and know that you're not alone in this battle because it takes a community to raise a child. And it still stands for today. It takes a community to raise a child. So join in and sit tight and listen. You may learn a little something. Thank you.
Grand.
Good morning. Good
Yes.
morning. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Another
Awesome.
fabulous rainy day here in Chicago.
I know, right? Yes, yes, it is. It is a rainy day. And actually it's a rainy day here on the outskirts of Atlanta.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
guess it's raining all over, right?
It feels like it's raining all over the world.
All right now. I love that dude. You look so cute today, girl. You popping over there. You just glowing. Look at you. Absolutely. I was just letting our viewers and listeners know that we have a wonderful show lined up, and this particular topic, Naima, is such a overwhelming topic for a lot of people. Because I work up close and personal, I get the opportunity to see what happens in families' lives when it comes to their children.
Yeah.
And starting as early as 5 years old, all the way to 17.
Mm,
Crisis, crisis. I'm talking about
really.
mental illness, suicidal attempts, cutting is another thing as well, self infliction, self harm, anxieties, depression, behavior defiance. Oh, the list goes on and on. Psychosis, hearing voices, delusions, paranoia. The list goes on. I'll be sitting here saying this till tomorrow evening.
Mm,
That's just how in depth it is with our children. And there's so many factors that play a role in all of those things I just said. Because guess what? None of our children are born like that.
no.
And I say our, which means because I look at children as my children. Even when I'm at the hospital, I don't look at them, oh, that's somebody else's child. No, for those 6 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours that they're there, those are my children.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, I am the overseer. Me and the staff, you know, the other therapists, we are there, you know, because, you know, again, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes, it
And I
does.
think we forgot that, Naima. I think some kind of way things really just, I mean, from over 30, 40 years ago, you know, it was so evident that, you know,
Everybody
yeah,
participated.
where we grew up at, right? When we grew up, you had the next door neighbor and the neighbor down the street, and you know, you had all of these people that watched that one child.
Yes. You always had eyes on you everywhere you went. And you knew it. You understood that everybody was watching you. And that was part of what made you make sure that you didn't do anything inappropriate, because someone was always watching, and all the adults talked to each other. So if it was necessary for your parents to be informed that you were misbehaving, your parents would get a phone call. So that was the kind of environment we grew up in, where everybody was connected and children felt the eyes of the community on them. And anybody who needed correction, needed someone to say something to them, to remind them, don't throw rocks at that car, whatever thing you're doing that
Right.
you shouldn't, you'd hear somebody would open the door and holler out, and you knew that they were watching you and you better stop. So it's just, that was the best security we could have had, better than any policing system there is. It was those parents who watched, those parents who sat out on the porch and observed the block and knew, ever spoke to everybody who walked past. That was our security,
Exactly.
and that was our safety, because we knew
Yes.
that people knew us. And so there was just, that was how we were protected, and that was how we were guided. So there was a lot more emotional health in that kind of environment, rather than a lot of these neighborhoods now, where nobody knows anybody, nobody speaks to anybody, nobody trusts anybody. And a child can feel very much alone in that kind of a situation, where if something happened to them, nobody would care. Nobody would call their parents. So it's a reflective of a society that's become very disconnected. In the name of us minding our own business, we really have dismantled the very fabric that held us together. And people think, well, how can we get back to the good old days? You really can't go back, but you have to go forward. You have to go forward and take the things that worked, discard the things that were not good, and see what it was that gave our children a better sense of emotional health. And I think one of the things that makes it difficult for us to form the kinds of trusting, cohesive neighborhoods we did have and we did grow up with, that era with the proliferation of drugs
Yes.
really destroyed the fabric of our communities, because people were not in their right minds.
Right.
So
Right.
adults who should have been responsible parents became irresponsible parents, irresponsible adults, behaving badly, uh, doing inappropriate things, getting into theft to support a drug habit, getting into prostitution to support a drug habit. And if we can understand that substance abuse had a major impact on the dismantling of cultural values, then
Yes.
rather than looking at people as criminal, we can understand that these were sick people who hadn't dealt with their emotional traumas in a healthy way. And so when they turned to the drugs, that was the most destructive way for them to handle their emotional pain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, these factors that you spoke of, to be honest with you, they've been around for a very, very long time.
Yes.
And what has happened in the fabric of our families is that the responsibility and the obligation that they have to our children, the children that are a part of each family, the parent influencers have actually become so dysfunctional to the point where they then totally interrupt their children's lives, and they don't even realize it, because I hear it every day. I hear that, oh, mommy and daddy is getting a divorce, but nobody consulted me. You know what I'm saying? No one told me what. I just saw them stop talking to each other, and I'm sitting there and I blame myself. Not even knowing that that's not even the situation.
Yeah. And it,
But again, they don't literally explain, the ramifications of what happens when, again, the fabric of the family is torn to pieces by domestic violence, by drug activity, by criminal activity, by so many different things, by mental illness, all of these things then play a big factor in why our children are affected today. So I see our guest is in the queue. I want to introduce you, everyone that's listening and watching, to Dr. Twin Green of the Link and Option Center.
ah, yes.
Is to be here with you, beautiful sisters.
Ah,
All
yeah.
right now.
Pleasure.
From
Hello.
Chicago. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. So wonderful to have you, Queen. Like I say, if I had a hat on, I'd tip it for you. Okay.
I tip my hat.
Hey,
I
that's
tip
right.
my hat.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
And how
ma'am. Thank you.
ironic is it that you and I do share the same last name?
That is
Okay. I was like, I mean, it is ironic, but I'm
Yeah,
sure there's much more to know and to explore when it comes to that, for sure.
absolutely.
Yes, it's definitely a divine meet and connection. I'm
Absolutely.
absolutely sure of it. And again, thank you for joining us this morning. As I was telling our viewers and listeners, this is a topic that has been, I would say, overlooked. Okay, I think that because of society today, we see it, but then we don't actually be a part of it like we should.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
wonderful people like you, and that actually have this subject matter, and doing something with the subject matter. You're not just listening; you have become a pioneer in doing something, to really eradicate and to help and heal. I say a population that doesn't really have a voice. They
Absolutely.
really don't. So
Yeah.
tell me a little more about what you're doing, and how things are working in your world.
Well, I am doing wonderful down here in the Southland. For your listeners and viewers, if there are any, I am Dr. Twin Green, founder, president, and CEO of the Lincoln Option Center, and we are an accredited, licensed community mental health center for the state of Illinois. And the work that we do is very crucial to the mere existence of humans and humanity. Mental health is what I breathe. Uh,
Mm,
Making sure that families are well. And in our conversation briefly yesterday, I shared with you, um, my humble beginnings and, how I started my agency and started off with just focusing on youth services.
mhm,
And I call them my babies now. They're all grown, because this was, nearly 30 years ago. So they're all grown with their own children. But during that time, and even today, little children, young people, they'll share. They'll share what's going on in their world, if they know that they have someone that they can trust with that knowledge that they're sharing with you. And unknowingly, these young people were coming to the Lincoln Option Centers. We called it the Link Center, where they had all these after school programs and things that they enjoyed doing after school within the facility that I ran.
mhm,
And they would share what was going on in their homes. And they were crying out for help and not knowing that they were doing that, but they were letting me know then what they needed to make
Right.
them whole, to help them. And I took that and I listened to them, and then I expanded my reach, my scope, and my service delivery to include the entire family dynamic. And
Wow.
today, this is what we do. So that's why we are a community mental health center. We service a range of ages, as young as age 4 all the way through adults 70 years old. I have
Mm,
access to and serve. And it is a huge undertaking. I love what I do. I came out of corporate America to do this.
mm-hmm.
I would not go back because it's just so needed. And when you talk about, and your topic is just wonderful, today when you talk about the youth and mental health and uh, all of what the challenges that they're going through, they're in crisis.
Yes.
Our youth are in crisis, and don't know if what is going to change that whole dynamic. But I know that the pandemic
Mm-hmm.
pulled the covers back,
Wow.
on these babies and their entire families. To have a 4-year-old coming into the Lincoln Option Center for
Mm,
services,
wow.
that says something.
Yes, it does.
Can a 4-year-old have? But all youth are going through something. Either it's depression, anxiety, trauma, PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
things that are going on in the community that they're experiencing, close up in their families, family members dying, being murdered, all of
Yes.
that, relationship separations. So then you have attachment, disorders,
Disorders.
you know,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's just one thing after another compounding. And then social media doesn't help, because they rely on that as their way of making friends. And then
Mm-hmm.
when they start to make friends, and then they get challenged by what their interests are, or how they look, or how they speak, or whatever, and then that sends them to another span. So it's just all over. It's all over the place with our young people, but we cannot give up on them because they're our future. And
That's
like you
right.
said, that seed,
Mm-hmm.
they're that seed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we're the senior generation now. So we've got to make sure that our young people are capable to be, the leaders that we need them to be, to take care of us.
Yes.
So we've got our work
Exactly.
cut out for us to make sure that they're well, and it's about being well.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I see that up close and personal, just as you do, at the hospital because we service ages 11 through 17. So
Mm,
we also, at the facility, we see it where they come in with so many different types of situations. And what I'm noticing is since the trend is actually changing with the domestic violence in the families from verbal, sexual, all types of dysfunctions.
yeah,
These are one of the counterparts, but matter of fact, the main issues, the underlining issues that no one seems to really notice it become really a toxicity. And I'm also seeing incest is really on the rise
I yes.
since all of this has happened. Like you said, the cover is being pulled back,
Hmm.
and a lot of people don't even realize that that is still a serious disruptor of the family system, the way it is, and it affects a child's life, and that never will you be the same. I know adults right now, as the ages of 50 years old, is still dealing with ancestral,
Yeah,
violations.
right.
So it is a reality It's
Yeah.
a reality. So what I want to do is I want to know, like you said, you were in the corporate world, because that's where I am now. I'm in the corporate world, and
Mhm.
I know my fate is going to lead me into those same perimeters that you are now in, because that's what I was telling myself even last year. I'm like, Deb, okay, put so much into this world of profit, because that's where it is, and you don't see any change. You see them go in and they come right back. They go in, it's like a revolving door, and
Yeah.
nothing's being done about it. So I'm like, and I feel that passion, that you felt when you stepped out of the box,
Yeah.
and went into. So could you tell me what drove you to that point where you're like, okay, this is enough?
Well, my son,
Mm,
my son was experiencing at the age of 8 uh, what I now know, did not know anything about mental health then, but what I know now, he was suffering from detachment disorder.
okay.
When I divorced his father, he could not handle that. That separation from his father just tore him apart because he was in love with his father. I mean,
Yes.
that was a daddy's boy and still is at age 43. He is, I mean, loves his mom, but he was so attached. The boy said daddy before he said mom. I'm like, what is that? So,
You know.
yeah. And so I did not know what it was doing to him. I was making sure we were okay, all the way through. But he was internalizing this separation and could not understand it and did not want to. So
Mm,
he did everything within his powers to be disruptive intentionally to make
Mm-hmm.
me send him to his father.
wow.
Mm.
And he
Yep.
had everything that he could, any child could ever want or need. But it wasn't that he was looking for. It wasn't the material things. It was not the, nice, none of that. He wanted to be with his father. And
Mm-hmm.
when he was no longer able to do that on a daily basis, that just rocked his world. And he did not
Yes.
know how to cope. And I didn't know what he was going through. I just knew he was just being a little menace to society. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Boy, you better go to school. I have to go to work, and to afford all of these luxuries that we have, you need to go to school so I can go to work. And he was like, no, it was just so much of that. And it took me to actually, the school said,
Mm-hmm.
you need to take him to counseling. So I did. I tried. I attempted one time, and it was the worst experience in the world.
Mm. Oh
The
wow.
worst experience in the world. And I said, I would not subject my son to that, nor myself. It was disruptive to the process
Now, why was it? Why was the counseling experience a negative thing?
because of the person that was sitting across from us.
She didn't
Oh,
know what she was doing.
Did he
Oh,
it was
he didn't
negative.
know what they were doing.
uncaring? It was just,
Mm.
Wow.
no passion, no, it didn't even need to be a counselor.
Oh,
Now
I've,
I
I've
know,
seen them before.
you know,
Hmm.
and quite the experience was quite disrespectful.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I said then,
He was judgmental. That's what he was.
yes, yes.
He
And
didn't.
And
He didn't.
probably did not have any life experience, maybe never had children of his own, or may even be going through a divorce himself and was kind of bitter
he
and
was,
was passing that on to your
yes,
situation.
absolutely. And all it took was just that one time for me and mine.
Wow.
And so,
Now,
and oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh no, no, but this is really serious, and I'm gonna tell you why. This is the reason, or one of the reasons why a lot of people don't go to therapy,
Mhm.
because of, and I'm not saying we have all of these terrible licensed or non-licensed people that are out there, but if you don't have experience enough to know that you have a sensitive family in front of you, and you can't transfer all that kind of transference of
Mhm.
your judgment of what you think a family should be,
Yeah,
or what. No, it ain't about you. It is
right.
about the need of the family.
We came for help.
Exactly.
We needed some tools. And your job was to provide that at that time. If it was no more than an ear to listen,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
then to give some resources passionately in a caring way, that
Hmm.
means a whole lot right there. Because if you are in this field, you have to care about someone else
Yes,
first.
we
That's
do.
right.
And so then, I listening to, his my son's friends. They all were going through the same, situations, and I'm ear hustling, as a mom should do. And I'm listening to them, and they're all, saying the same thing about how they're missing their dads and that. And I said, I've got to do something. I've got to create an environment where another mother or another father that is struggling with parenting
Hmm.
their children, they can have somewhere to come, send their children, be safe, be cared for, be loved, and all those other things to make their social development, youth development, a positive experience and take some of that stress off of them. That is what I'm going to do. And that's what I did. And that's why I did it.
Awesome.
Mm,
Awesome.
yes.
That's why I did it. Came
Awesome.
out of corporate
Wow.
America making money, and I started this. But it's a passion, it's a ministry. I love it. Every day when I
Hmm.
get up, it's like, okay, you know, it's like putting on the cape. I'm ready.
Superwoman, come forth. And you
Yeah,
don't remind me of myself. I swear, you remind me of
gotta
me.
do it
I'm
all.
sitting there listening to you, and I'm like, oh my God, this is really profound.
Putting
If
a
that is
smile
not
on
me,
somebody's face.
Yes.
okay.
Putting a
Yeah,
Yes,
smile
ma'am.
on somebody's face.
right.
Yes,
We gotta take
ma'am.
a
Yes,
break.
ma'am.
We gotta take a break, and we got callers on the switchboard that want to, I guess, ask some questions.
Okay.
And when we come back, Dr. Debbie, if you're ready to take some calls, so you listen to Dr. Debbie and Dr. Twin Green here on Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And we'll be right back after this quick break. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back after this brief message. So stay with us.
We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shinsu Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com. Tune with Dr. Debbie Green on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear great topics and stories on grief and turn it into victory. Join Dr. Debbie Green to listen to stories of triumph and learn how to overcome. You are not alone in your life, and there is hope in the darkest hour. This is your time to learn strategies and solutions to improve your life. It's your time. So join Dr. Debbie Green with Soulful Solutions and call in on Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 515-605-9325 with comments and questions. Look to hear from you real soon.
All right.
All right, all right. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with my wonderful co-host Naima Latif, our executive producer, and also our wonderful guest, Dr. Twin Green of Link and Option Center. Ooh, I say that in one breath, y'all. Let me give myself a hand, okay? Oh, wonderful. I'm just glad to have you beautiful ladies with me today. What I want to do is also touch on some of the factors, Dr. Green, that you notice, like some of the prioritized factors that you know that are current right now with, far as the children are concerned, that's coming through your facility. Some of those factors, like you say, oh, we keep seeing this over and over and over again. Some of those factors. And I just want to see what the link up is because I know I'm here in Georgia and I want to know, I mean, because the states are states and all things are pretty much very similar, but then we also have some variation. And I'm just curious to find out what you see.
But when you say factors, I'm
Like,
hoping.
yeah, the things, for example, like, do you see more when we deal with mental and emotional disorder? Do you see more of the parental influencers? When I say parental, I'm talking about the biological, the nuclear families, that breakdown in the system that's causing, that's contributing to the emotional trauma of the child, or is it like more of the when I say domestic violence or divorce or death of family members or those are just the factors that
Okay,
influence.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe it's more of the biological,
Hmm.
because what they're getting sometimes in the household is not what is healthy for them.
Okay.
And when I say that, and I shouldn't say that it's not healthy for them, but it is contributing to the anxieties that they're going through. Um, Young people now, the way that they communicate with their parents, or their parents are communicating with them when they are experiencing external challenges, school bullying, uh, you know, uh, it could be a grief and loss situation.
Hmm.
Maybe they've lost a family member. We don't know that they're internalizing that grief like we would. They don't know how to express that hurt. And then they will take and they will start to look at other ways to cope with their feelings, because we're not asking the child really, how do you feel? Well, if something happens in the school, maybe a school, one of their peers were hurt or got killed or something like that. I'm using that as
Right.
an example. The school counselors, they'll say, well, we're bringing a school counselor. But that doesn't really, that's just that situation right there. Not saying that it's not useful, but you say, well, if you want to talk to someone, come and talk to us. But then when you go home, you don't have that support there, because family doesn't know how to sit around the table anymore and say, what's going on? How you feeling today? What happened in your day? We
Right.
don't have that sit around the table, kind of eat dinner together situations like we used to. And Naima, you mentioned that, how the community came together when we were young. and we came up in the same neighborhood. And that we had values, that value system was in the home. So you valued going to school, you valued education, you valued religion, whatever that was, you went to church. But now these children, they're looking more to external things to help them rather than in their home. And if the home isn't nurturing, if that home environment isn't nurturing, everything else takes, they grasp to any and everything. So I would say, yes, it is more the biological, because when parents are coming to me, bringing their children into the Lincoln Option Center, and I have about 200 youth.
Wow.
Of the 800 total people that are enrolled, and that's a single person. Not that, then you times that by 4 people in a family. I'm serving a lot of people.
Wow.
But if you look at those, you look at that number, and these kids are coming in pretty much with the same concerns. I'm depressed. I have anxiety about something. My mood is messed up. I'm using vapors. It's all these other things to help them cope, because they don't know how to deal with all this stuff that's going on in their little world. So it's I think it's more of the home, because mom is coming or dad is coming, and the home is dysfunctional in a way. Because the home now is expressing, mom and dad, they have their own anxiety. So I'm stressed out about not having a job anymore, and I can't do this and other things, and now my world is turned upside down, and how can I nurture my child? So my child is missing out. So that's what I see more of.
Okay.
You know what I was going to ask, probably both of you all have seen this, since you mentioned the home life seems to be the problem. When I was teaching, and I taught elementary school and high school, and basically the school brought me in as kind of like the resident substitute. Whoever was missing, I filled in. I was teaching at the Betty Shabazz International Charter Schools, and so that means I'd been from kindergarten all the way up to high school classes, and I was seeing a pattern. Usually, like if a child was disruptive, I'd be the one to kind of pull them aside and find out what's going on, so the teacher could continue teaching while I dealt with whatever that child was going through. A lot of times they were more, I would say 99% of the time, they were distressed about something that was happening at home. It was either a divorce, a domestic dispute. I was in I think it was first grade class, and a child was having some difficulty. I pulled him aside and I had him draw a picture, and first he started out drawing a nose, saying, well, my nose is stopped up. And then he started drawing the bedroom scene, and he started drawing the fighting scene between the parents. And he started drawing his sister and him hiding in the closet while his parents fought. And then he told me this whole story about, the mother and the father fighting because the boyfriend, and then children had to hide in the closet. I mean, and I'm like, oh my God, and so by the time he had told me this whole story, what was happening, I could see he was living under constant stress and this conflict going on. And what do you do when you're 6 years old and in first grade, and it's unfair really that teachers have to try to manage all of this emotional distress, and that's not their job. They're supposed to just teach, So many children have, and it would happen time and time again. I'd have to pull a child aside, and it was some issue happening at home, parents' fault, and then the older the children got, the more detailed their stories would be. One child, and one session we did, I said, well, raise your hand if you've ever witnessed an incident of violence. We were talking about what causes children to, act out and bully and that kind of thing. And one of them was telling this story about how, the father had stabbed the sister's boyfriend because, he didn't like her going out with this guy. And so they had to call the police and arrest. And all this had just happened the day before. And I'm like, and you had to go to school like nothing happened? I wonder how they functioning. And then in high school, when I had the children write an assignment, write a letter to the person who's made you angriest. I would say out of 5 classes, relatively about 100 students, I'd say about 75% were writing letters to their father, angry that the fathers had left the mother, and the anger that they were expressing. And I'm like, so this family thing, for me, from what I've seen, it's at the root of everything.
It is. It is. And I'd like to share one more thing with you. I also do family reunification for one of the busiest courts in Illinois, and that's 6th District. And these fathers are trying to establish their rights and have access with their children. And it's a battle. And what is happening with these children is that they knew their dads.
Yeah.
They knew their dads before that separation.
Yeah.
And now mom doesn't want the child to have anything to do with the father because the father doesn't want anything to have to do with you. He's moved on.
Over and over.
And so should you have, and in some instances you have. But that child didn't get separated.
Yeah, they weren't divorced.
Right. So I get these all the time from the courts. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching these children. And they're trying to figure out, how do I not tell my mother that I love my father, I want to spend time with my father without making my mother mad at me?
That's what I've seen.
And they're struggling, and it's causing them anxiety.
Yes, because when we divorce,
they're in the middle of this
side, and we want the child to take our side, and so we say all these bad things about the fathers, so the child will see our point of view and take our side.
And they're hearing it.
Yeah,
they're seeing it. These kids are hearing that, because everything that you say is within the children's ear, ear reach, and they're ingesting this, and it's not good. And I tell both my parents all the time, if you loved each other enough to have this child, respect each other enough to co-parent. You don't have to love each other anymore or even be with each other anymore. But it's your responsibility as a parent to love that child, make sure that child has everything that they need until they become adults. And when they become adults, they will have those learned lessons from you, that a family is supposed to be a family. And this is what a family does. And love is one of the root. You have to be able to do that. You have to know that you're being loved by both parents and not have to be in the middle mediating feelings. Yeah. I want to be free to do this, because if I'm having some issues outside of you, the two of my parents, I can't cope with that external frustration, and I'm still frustrated with what's going on at home.
Yeah,
too much. And so that brings a lot of anxiety and attachment disorder cases, to me. And it's unfair that our children are subjected, to all of that. And I feel really bad being a woman in a lot of these instances, because we always want to say, oh, dad be dead. All of them aren't.
I would find most
that's true.
Most people feel very badly that
in a way.
There's so much hostility between them and the mother. And a lot of women, again, use the child support thing as
in a way.
And so they have anger. And I was just seeing a pattern, even among my male high school students, the anger that they felt in not being able to see their fathers. And had one student who was distraught because, his mother's boyfriend had kicked him out the house, and he trying to figure, okay, where am I going to go after school? And, I'm homeless now. I mean, so they get caught in the crossfire of adult conflicts. And I look at teachers at school having to deal with this, and they don't have the tools to deal with this. Most schools don't have counselors and therapists they can bring in.
No.
So they just only tool they have is suspend the student when they disrupt.
Absolutely.
That's not helpful. And so the frustration that I had was realizing our schools needed so much more mental health experts, because most of the problems came down to family dysfunction and the child being helpless to do anything about it except express anger. And that's what we were seeing.
Yeah. And you start acting out because you don't know what else to do. You don't know how to do anything else.
Yeah. So we've got some callers on the line, and it's no accident that I would say 70% of our listeners are male, because I think they want to what are these women doing? What is the solution? Because we find that a lot of men are kind of frustrated at the situation they've been put in, and
rightfully so.
And they don't get to see
that. Absolutely.
And if you're listening online and want to join the conversation, that's right. Paul Rice says the child was not divorced. That's
absolutely.
Yes.
We divorce us. We make the children feel like that, and because we want them to share our anger.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
Yeah.
So 312-450. Your mic is open. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your question or comment for Dr. Green and Dr. Green.
God bless you, women of God. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, thank you. Bless all of you. I'm back. This is Sister Darla with Women Are Rising Ministries. I just want to say that God is doing some great things out here. The Holy Spirit is doing what it said it's going to do. 2023. It's going to be great for me and many others. So I just want to say that I am definitely working with our young people, the new AOL, the new Advocate Organizing Leaders. Those are young people ages 8 to 28. And I just wanted to jump in. I've been very busy, but I'm back. But God has me on an assignment that's so powerful that I have to stay grounded with Him. But I want to say this, that I just tell people on the shows that I do with the family and even on other radio shows that we have to go back to the basics, the love of God. We must go back to the family. The family is the whole structure, and the enemy is deleting, destroying, and denouncing the family. And that's what's going on all across, not just with Black people, but everybody. And so until we go back to the husband, the wife, which God is here of the husband and the husband here of the wife, we're not talking about boyfriend and girlfriend and biblical things. We're talking about biblical principles. And then the husband and wife can raise the children up the right way. And so until then, we won't be able to do what needs to be done, because the principles of marriage and family is out of order. And until we get back in God's order, I believe that nothing would change. So if you women, whomever, I would love to just give me some insight on what you think about that. I would love that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Darva. I appreciate that. I got a quick question for both of you all, because one thing
absolutely.
The culture changed after World War II, when women were brought into the workforce to deal with the absent soldiers, fighting the war. The culture changed. Women were out in the workforce. Women were getting educated. The dynamics of the culture changed, and nobody told the men the new rules. So now you have two people in a home, both of them wage earners, both of them functioning outside in the world. You didn't have that old traditional family of 50, 60, 70 years ago. So that means both people needed to parent, both people needed to have household management, household keeping, and child rearing skills to share those skills. Nobody told men the new rules about this. And so much of the conflict, much of the divorce had to do with women being independent, careers in their own right, men also working, men coming home wanting that wife to do the housework and all of that, and after she had done her 8 hours just like he did. So what I saw a generation ago, just a wave of divorces around just that issue, the fact that no one trained men to be partners in a family, because they saw their fathers maybe being the ones that went out and worked, and then the mother staying at home. Well, that economic, that social dynamic doesn't exist, and we never came up with a new rule book. So now we're the product of the change, the difference, and there's not the dominant submissive type relationship anymore, and no one taught men how to be partners in a relationship. And then when the dynamics really change, if the wife is the one that's earning and the husband has been laid off, then the power shifts, and a lot of men have frustration over that. So all of these things combine to create the situation that we have, where households aren't getting along. So Garver says we need to, go back to the old values, but the old ways aren't going to go back because the world has changed. How do we raise our sons and daughters and prepare them for a new kind of relationship where there's co-parenting, co-responsibilities inside and outside of the house, mutual respect, and knowing how to compromise and organize your home and parent your children? How do we teach our children the new culture that now exists so that they can stay together?
I would like to.
Go ahead, Dr. Green. I'll talk afterwards.
I thank you, Sister Darby, for even, bringing that to us today. That value system, if we don't value anything, then nothing is meaningful. And I go back to, we may not go back, Naima, to the way it used to be in that respect, but if our families, if there are any elders in that family, if those elders could at least take that mantle and talk about valuing religion or Christianity, whatever it is, you have to value that the spiritualness, of righteousness. You've got to go there, and that is going to build that foundation, because if you have some values, some goals, and some principles of valuing education, if you valuing family and what it means for a family in a dynamic to be able to worship together, to eat together, to cry together, all of those things, then I think our souls will be better, and we'll begin to feel better about being compassionate enough about our mate, so that we can do things in unison to make sure that we have that, we're one. When you talk about marriage now, you're supposed to be one. That's what it says. Right. And they take these vows, and it does say, I'm going to be one, right? It's two together make one. But you have to value something to build on something and make that and make that be it. We know about Black history, but and Black history talks about how families back in the day, when we were in slavery, how we were resourceful, how we did things to make sure that our families ate. We made sure that our families were okay, protected, all of that. That's not gone. We just don't know how to do it anymore in a loving way. And that's all we need to do, is reteach our history of how to value and have a value system, incorporate a value system in our homes. That family value system is so important. If you don't have it, you're just existing out here and susceptible to disaster. So that's my spiel on that one.
Yeah.
Well, I totally agree. Yes, ma'am. I totally agree with everything you just said. And again, because of the non-activity of just the relationship with our Creator as well. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like you said, if the spiritual side of understanding who God is and teaching it from the youngest down to 3 years old, all the way, until that child understands that it's a relationship. It's not just going to church or hearing the pastor speak. You need to have a relationship with your Creator and and your higher power. And the goal is, once the relationship is intact, it then gives a person a balance. And that's what you said, our souls are then transformed. We get that balance, we get what we need, out of life, where we become knowing instead of just doing. Okay, you know something, and you'll be able to discern because our children are very wise. Um, they're not just wise academically, but they're very wise because the word of God clearly says, what I'm saying, they're wiser but weaker. Okay, what that means is that it is the mental capacities of the understanding and comprehension of life that they don't know. And we, as the body of Christ, or wherever you find yourself at in the specific goal of just say the worship, of God, you should be able to effectively teach your children what it means to have balance. And I think that's what happens: balance emotionally, balance mentally, balance physically, and balance spiritually. And there is a process for that, because as well as I know, Dr. Green, that the mental mind, or the mental brain, the capacities of logic, reasoning, and rationale is not even developed until they're 24 years old. So what's happening?
Right.
Our children are learning by osmosis. Our environmental, the environments that we have our children, they are absorbing all of it, all the toxicities of those environments. So when those toxics go inward, they create some type of dysfunction as well as turbulence within them. And then that's where the mind, which is no logic, that the emotional side, oh, I'm just feeling. That's all I know do is feel. So the parents are looking at, well, why can't you do this and this and this? They don't even have the same logic as you. Even some of the parents are traumatized and don't have their logic and rationale and reasoning in place. You know what I'm saying?
Sad.
So now you have the dysfunction helping the defective and producing more dysfunction. And I think that's what's happening, from the plateau, what I see with these eyes every
Mhm.
day. And I totally think that we need to, as a community, as a society, to actually hold workshops, seminars, conferences, teaching for parents and nuclear families. How do you, what I'm saying, rear your child? Because we raise corn in the field. Okay, but you have to rear your child. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? How do you
I
rear
like
your
that. We
child?
say we raise corn in the field.
Raise your- raise yourself. I
Joking.
raised my child. You hear all the time, I raised my child. I said, no, did you rear your child? If you raise your child, that means you made a mistake, because now
Mm.
you are looking at it from a whole nother perspective. And this is just something that's been said years and years. We heard it as children. I raised
Yeah.
y'all the best I could. I'm like, okay. But the thing about this is, say that the dynamics of the mental, again, capacities of a person or people that are around in that their environment. They don't have a clue. That little Bobby, you know what I'm saying? Little John was sitting there and watching, as his uncle was over in the corner constantly smoking and drinking every day, raising HELL. Okay. And then mama was over here, screaming at daddy. And then my sister over here picking at me, and I'm so tired of her, and nobody see that I feel overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed.
Right. Then nobody sees it.
I
We
don't
got to
even
take
know how
another
to deal
break.
with this.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to take
Splitting
another break.
family, right?
Right. We got to take a break. When we come back, we got a couple more callers on the line. And if you're listening online, want to chime in, got questions or comments for Dr. Debbie or Dr. Twin Green, and we will be right back after this quick break. So we want you to stick and stay. Don't stray away. Be back in a moment.
What happens when a group of people are kidnapped from their homes, smuggled away in chains, and held captive in a foreign land where they are tortured, raped, and forced to perform hard labor by the lash of a whip and under the constant threat of death? Slavery, the African American psychic trauma. What happened to the doctors, writers, scientists, builders, educators, and spiritual leaders from Africa's golden age? who did they really capture and sell into slavery? Are all African Americans suffering from psychic trauma because of a conspiracy to hide their true identities? Do you have psychic trauma? Take the test on page 22 of the book and see. Order it online today at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. And get your personally autographed copy of the book, Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma. I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata. Crime in Chicago continues to increase. Community and politicians must come together to make a change. No one person can solve these problems by themselves, but I believe together we can make progress. Let's provide job training, economic growth, and invest into our 77 communities. Let's rebuild and restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of Chicago. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message. Paid for by Willie Wilson for mayor.
All right, welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with my wonderful co-host Naomi Latif and our executive producer of the Female Solution. And we welcome our special guest again, Dr. Twin Green of, oh my goodness, I'm trying to get that Lincoln Option Center. Did I say that right? I hope I did. Absolutely. So what we want to do is we're going to take a call, and I have also a quick question for you, Dr. Green. So we'll take that caller first, okay?
Sure. All right. 773-737. Your mic is open. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your question for Dr. Debbie Green, Twin Green.
Well, hallelujah. Greetings, Global Transformers. This is Mama D in Chicago. How are you today? Grand Rising.
Yeah.
Great.
You know, you can't get away from the train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. They'll have something to fall back on. And I think what's happening today is, number one, there's nobody there to train them up when 80%, I think it was.
Uh-oh. I think she did a bleeper. Yeah. When we lose Naima, actually we use the blog talk as well. So I'm just gonna keep on talking. Yes, yes. She'll be back on in just a second. That was Mama D actually, and I know where she actually was going at with that comment. She was saying that we don't have the parental guidance that we once had before. And it's almost like the schools are also struggling as well because the teachers are trying to teach. So it's hard unless you got someone there that really, some teachers really know that a child needs more than just ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. And thank God for the teachers, right? Thank
Yes.
God for the teachers. Back on again.
Yes. Yes. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. my computer.
That's
Mama
okay.
D
That's
was
all
saying,
right. She's still on there.
yes, she was making the point that she said I hit the nail on the head, saying men didn't get the memo, when the relationship
Yeah,
changed.
we didn't hear
Um,
any of that. So you might want her to go
yeah,
ahead and
yeah,
repeat it. We
you
didn't get
want to say
any
what you
of
just
that.
said? Yeah, they missed that because our picture went out for just
Yeah,
one moment.
I said they didn't get the memo. Your wife needs a partner when she works outside the home. Now the master and slave relationship is over. I remember when husband number one. I say that because I've had four. My philosophy is just because one man made you cry does not mean you should never laugh again. So anyway, number one told me, I washed the dishes for you. You know what I said to him? I said, no, you didn't wash the dishes for me. You washed the dishes because they're nasty. Mess up more dishes than I do because I can use the same glass over and over again. Every time you come into the kitchen, you use a different glass. And if I get home first, I start dinner. You get home first, you start dinner. But even today, our young men that she can't cook, they got this image in their head that they are still above the woman. They are, because that first relationship is not straight. We come into this world on a live foot. My birth, no, it's not your birth. Your mama did the birthing. Your mama did the labor. Your mama did the work. You got born, and what's more, you were alive inside of her body for 9 months before she did the labor, did the work, did the birthing, so you could be born on the earth. So we've got to go back and revisit that you are a woman was the first teacher. If you were teaching correctly, your son wouldn't grow up and enslave you. Your son wouldn't grow up and think he's better than you. So we've got a lot of issues to deal with, but it's getting that first relationship straight. Birthday. Men try, and women too, they try all kinds of ways to avoid that. They'll say it's my born day. No, you missed it. You missed it. You didn't say give credit to both. Birthday, give credit to both. Well, it's my naval day. Oh, you missed it. You didn't give credit to both. Birthday, credit to both. Well, it's my naval day. Oh, you missed it. Anything. I know the process of change is hard, but change is the only consistent thing in life. You change before you get born. You change after you die.
Well, Mama D, the point that you brought up, of course, these are two professional women, and as you point out, there's a whole different dynamic when you got two people working full time, and there's the old expectation that the wife is the one that's supposed to handle all the housework. And are we not raising our sons to prepare them for that equal partnership that they didn't see generations past? And is that the source of conflict? Thank you for bringing that point out, Mama D. So let me see if Dr. Debbie and Dr. Twin have a thought on that, because they both have very strenuous careers, and these are issues that come up. So
Debbie, you want to go first?
Go first, Dr. Twin.
Oh, okay. I will.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, Mama D.
Okay, I'll tell you what. You go ahead.
I'm calling now.
Guest today.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Okay, so
Yes, ma'am.
Mama D, I think you are the wisest Black woman in the world today. I listened to you on WVON, and one of these days it would be my pleasure to sit at your feet.
Oh, hey now. See, Mama D, you got another thing. I told you were
all have some learning still to do, and a wise woman is the best educator for any professional Black woman today. And so I applaud you for, you're always giving sound advice whenever I've listened to you, and I appreciate you. Uh, and no, we have not uh, trained our young men, our sons, to be the men in a relationship that they should be. And I know that I fall short there because I had one son and I did not raise him. If I had had the opportunity, because he was all over the place, if I had had the opportunity, I don't know if I would have uh, really put that much emphasis on it because I was working and, just doing, and he saw me doing, coming home and cooking and doing all those things because my mother was not a mother that stayed at home. She worked just like my father, but they came from the South. And the expectation was that my mother cooked the meal every day, whether she worked or did not work. She cooked those meals. And my father worked for the railroad, worked hard, but she made sure that she did all of the cooking. We had our chores, but she did all of the cooking, and it was expected of her to do that. And me, as a young woman, a young girl watching that, I did the same thing. But now I'm in my own professional world, and I have my household. I don't want to come home and have to do all of that. So I'm resistant, but I watched my mother do it, and I thought it was the norm. But Mama D said, when you come in, whoever get home first, you should be doing this stuff. And you are so right, because my man does the same thing with these glasses. He will, every time you turn around, he's got another glass. And I wash the dishes for you, or I put I started the load of laundry for you. It's always for you. No, you are right. The laundry basket has yours and mine in it. So that just tickled me when Mama B was saying that, but it's so true. But yeah, we've missed the mark. We've missed that mark right there of raising our sons, uh, to be those men that we would want them to be. A good man, to be equally uh, valued in all of those domestic situations in that home. And that is why, there is it's so challenging right now. And expectation is always, the woman should do this, the woman should do that, that's your job to do this, and this is your job to do that. And it is not. It is not. And it causes conflict in the home a lot of times when, you start to say, well, why can't you? Then it's just a whole nother an unnecessary argument about something. But if you come into that relationship with that expectation, then those conflicts won't be blow ups and become physical in some respects. But yeah, I'm gonna yield to my sister, Dr. Debbie.
Yes, ma'am. It's funny that what I love her because since being with the female solution, she is so wise, and my heart just goes out to her. I'm just so thankful just to be in her time. As you said, raising our young men, saying from the earliest when my son, because I have one son, but I have also two daughters, but one boy. So I would always tell him, I said, okay, after you eat, you need to put your plate in the dishwasher, all these things, and he take care of it. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's when families are doing that. They wait somebody else takes it off the table. Does they stand? If they can stand, oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were kind of blinking in and out a little bit.
Can you
Yeah,
hear
you
me?
might want to make sure. Yeah, we can hear you.
I
You
know.
want
Yeah, that's just
yeah, you want to make sure you
okay.
close all any other windows on
Okay.
your computer so it's not sucking out your internet. Yeah, because you were just kind of blinking out just a little bit, but we can hear you.
Okay. All right, so the goal is to again let them have their independence from a young age, and you will know if they had that from a young age because the man that you get involved with, or even your husband, or you're still dating, or whatever the case may be, when they actually come into your home, if you invite them there, okay, worthy, when they come into your home, they'll pay and say, hey, let me wash the dishes. I think that you cooked the meal, so let me wash the dishes. You know what I'm saying? It's always something that will let you know whether that person has good home training. My
Yeah.
mother used to always tell me, a man that comes to your door empty-handed, you better check him. He said he should come in with something.
Something.
You should. I don't care if it's a loaf of bread. Tell them don't come to my house empty-handed. And then you expect. I mean, because this is this reality. This is the old way. But I know
Mhm.
the new age way of days. Women are tending to be a little more lenient in those areas. Just depends on how they were reared. Okay. Now I was kind of reared, in different fashions, and I believe, I should cook the meal, but if there's a male counterpart there, hey, come on over here and prep this over here. Because yes, we are cooking this meal
Yeah.
together. And I mean, and if they find a problem with that, they just want to sit on the couch and just wait for me all the time. I don't know about that, y'all. That might be a little much for that person. But I'm just saying, that's just my opinion with that. But the fabric of life is togetherness. So I think that was the main core of
Yeah.
this topic.
And you know what? I
Say,
want to share
can
just
we
one.
all get along?
Just get along. I want to share something. I think it just came to mind, and it was quite funny as I reflect back on when I was coming up. My mother she taught all of us how to cook, boys too, because if she used to tell her boys, and just in case you know, got you a wonderful wife that could not cook to your satisfaction or cook,
The meal.
boys expect, to taste their mama's cooking in
Mm.
the wife that they get, right? So she would train them how to prepare certain things so that even if they were alone, they wouldn't starve. They would know
Right,
how to
right.
cook a good meal.
That's a survival skill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I did that for my
I
son.
taught my
But the thing,
son.
yeah,
Yes.
but the thing that got me was how my mother used to make our plates from the stove, and we would, and place it on the table and we would eat. My father, by him working, the railroad, and he would get home later, she would then, he would sit at the table, at the head of the table. She would take each and every dish that she prepared and put it in a separate dish and put it on the table, buffet
Yes.
style
I
for
see
him.
that.
And that's how
Hmm.
he ate.
That's interesting.
That's how he ate. And then we had to wash all those dishes,
Serving. She
Oh
served
dusty
them.
wow.
dishes after us.
She
Then we had to come
served
back
them.
around
You had
again
to
and
wash
wash
all the dishes.
those dishes again. And I was like, I never could understand why she would do that.
But that's what he liked.
And
Yeah.
she cooked everything. We didn't have, simple meals. She greens and sweet potatoes and all of that stuff
Real
during the
food.
week. It wasn't just a Sunday meal. And you had all these little individuals. That was just way too much.
That's what he liked, and so that's what he did, and so that's what made it
She
work for
did.
him.
And they were married for 50 years.
Well, that's the thing, our parents, and like we were talking about the neighborhood
Wow.
that we grew up in,
Yeah.
parents raised their
Mm.
children, they stayed together until, one of them departed this world. I mean,
Yeah.
these were the stable families. The community was stable because the families were stable. Now, there might have been some things going on in each household, but people were just wired to think this I'm gonna be in this for the long haul. This is forever. There's very few divorced families that you saw in our neighborhood.
Right.
And I know that had an impact because everybody, the children all grew up professionals and everything, but something broke down. I think, like I was mentioning earlier, the drug trafficking had a lot to do with it because people were not going to therapy; they were turning to the cocaine man or whatever. And there's that, and then there's the changing dynamics of the families. But now what I see is like a trend that we got to figure out how to turn around, like Darver was saying, going back to the values of family. But how does a single mother teach her children how to function in a partnership when they don't see it? And the statistics show that 85% of men doing time in prison came from fatherless homes. 87% of girls who get pregnant out of wedlock came from fatherless homes. So if we know that the breakdown is the absent parent, the broken family, but yet now today's children, I think that the statistics for single parent homes is somewhere like 65, 70%. Things like 70% in the Black community. So if most of the children being raised today do not see the partnership relationship, how do they know what that looks like? Because I talk to like my daughter, our children now, they're the childbearing age, they're, marriage and family age. And yet so many are growing up in families where they didn't see the partnership. They had expectations of the men. The men have no clue as to what they're supposed to do because they didn't see it. They didn't see what it looks like to be in the household, take turns washing the dishes, take turns vacuuming the rug, take turns emptying the garbage, going over the household budget. They didn't see any of that relationship because they were raised by one person who did everything.
Yes.
So how do they learn?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way we can teach them? I mean, well, if your son doesn't have a father, well, maybe they're getting close to their coach at school or something. That's fine, but that's not teaching them how do you treat a woman if they have not seen a man treat you the way they should treat a woman.
That is true.
They will not know. And many of us, we might have a relationship for a while, and I know women are careful about bringing their male companion around their children unless this is somebody who they feel like, well, this is somebody who's going to be permanent. This is somebody who I think I can form a family with. Because you don't want your
some of them are not
or daughter to see a bunch of different men until you decide, well, this is somebody I'm serious about. But then that person needs to be able to demonstrate the kind of relationship that will work in these times. Are we able to show them that? Are we able to show our sons and our daughters what a relationship looks like?
Yeah, we missed the mark there.
Yeah.
Well, let me see. I think we've got some other callers on the line and press one. Yes, area code 312-671. Your mic is open. Introduce yourself to our listening and viewing audience and give us your question for Dr. Debbie and Dr. Twin. Go right ahead.
We on Yah Shalom. We don't die, we multiply. Like it's beautiful. As you are, Dr. Debbie Green, and I salute the female solution, and especially you, Sister Naima Ortiz. This is Minister Plum, your brother and friend, lifetime too, forever.
Absolutely.
I thank you very much for last Friday, which was a 23-day.
Well, congratulations on being honored for all your excellent work. We really value the wisdom of people calling yourself and Mama D, who share your wisdom of your senior years, and we so desperately need that. Let me ask you this question. You've been a married man and of course have lived through an era. You've got daughters. What do you tell them to expect from men in their lives, and what kind of relationship do you tell them that they should look for in a young man?
Hallelujah. Yes. Thank you. I was I've seen my parents be to 50 plus years. I've even seen my baby sister be to 50 plus years. And even myself, I made 30 plus years. And very important spiritual thing is, God don't make no mistakes. Got two greens on the program, which means life. And I thank both of them doctors are twin two greens.
I love it.
Yeah, and Sister Dava Watkins, Apostle Dava Watkins, when I see this is what everything that God created, He created in pairs. He didn't create nothing, one of this or one of that, and I just want to say this, gonna be God's will on it. We got to go back to the God's will, and God's will is for the family to get married, men and women to get married, and I will marry them up when they get ready to get married. God bless each and every family, and we need to know that family is just like God. And who is God? God is number one. And who else is God? God is you. He always in His word say, none but the pure in the heart and the righteous is going to see God. So a man must protect his family. That's the order of God. A man must provide for his family. A man must do unity in the family. And back in the day, we had respect, and respect is everything. We had black and black love. We used to love each other. And the problem came when we fell out of love with God and each other. But I just want to mention that information is the key to success. So we can breed success. And it takes a village to raise one child, and no one can raise a kid. We have to abolish that word kid out of our
vocabulary.
Vocabulary. Thank you so much, Steph. That was a problem I had too coming up. Sometimes I would get tired I have to laugh at my faults, my shortcomings, and my problems. As a human being, everybody, no matter what race they in, no matter what their sex is, there's a number that goes with that, and that's 29. I learned that human being means 29. Everybody got a temple, and everybody can control their temple, which is inside of you. And the way you do it is you help stop the violence, stealing, and killing, and the hijacking, and remember that baby, Ray Ray, She Ray, and Shay Ray children, those are Minister Plump children. They're my children. But I need all the help in the world because it is a mission that we're on, and I'm with Apostle Dava Watkins, men on a mission and women on a mission. And I want to compliment you all for being those women. The Female Solution is the world's greatest blog radio station in the nation, and everybody should listen to this show because it is a way of life that we can all serve Yahshua, who most know as Jesus Christ, and it can be in a way that we can do what we got to do. For more information, go to the HaleWashingtonFoundation.info.
Well, thank you, Minister Plump. It's break time, but we thank you so much. And we want to make sure that, and we want to make sure that we spread your message here and abroad, because you're definitely someone that is sharing wisdom, love, and light. So we appreciate you so much. We're going to take our last break. And if you're on our switchboard now and got a comment to make, please press 1, light your number up, let us know you have something to say. And we'll be back with Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green and our guest, Dr. Twin Green. And we want to hear from you. So if you want a visual, you can go to Soulful Solutions on Facebook and YouTube and write in your comments. I think we had a couple of comments that passed by. So we'll be right back after this quick break. So stay with us.
Is Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed, into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher life Delta Speaks, your Monday morning mindfulness session on Blog Talk Radio, the Female Solution. Monday, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure and send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit DeltaSpeaks.com and send us your info. We'd love to have you. Experience mindfulness moments with the mindfulness/stress relief coach, Delta Speaks. And thanks for sharing the mindfulness moment tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, and stay tuned to your next session of mindfulness on Higher Learning with Delta Speaks. Make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening.
Our kids are the future and should not be left behind. One person should not decide what is the best for our 77 communities. Politicians must work together for our kids' best interests. They deserve a safe education with resources that meet every student need. Let's rebuild and restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of Chicago. I'm Dr. Willow Wilson, and I approve this message. Paid for by Willie Wilson.
Hey, it's time to take charge of your health. I'm Beata, your holistic life coach, and every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I'm here on the Female Solution to empower you to make choices that will assist your evolution to abundant health. I'm also blogging every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at Soul Person Healing, where I bring you a spiritual chiropractic adjustment to bring you back into alignment with our Creator's love, compassion, and wisdom. Join me every Friday morning at 8 a.m. and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. for a time of peace, enlightenment, and low vibration. Shalom.
Hi, this is John Alexander.
And I'm Naima Latif. Meet people like you who are making a positive difference in the world. Watch us every day on The Media Connection at www.youtube.com/The Media Connection TV.
YouTube it. We'll see you soon.
There are people who choose to make a positive difference in the world. Our job is to bring you their stories to motivate you to do the same. Join us each week, host John Alexander and Naima Latif, as we bring you the educators, entertainers, elected officials, religious leaders, and community activists whose works are transforming this world. Find out how you can make a difference too. Be inspired. Watch The Media Connection. Mondays at 5 p.m. and Tuesdays at 12 noon on Cable TV Channel 19 in Chicago and other cities. Check your local cable listings.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. We are at the top of our hour. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with my wonderful co-host, Naima Latif, our executive producer, and our wonderful guest, Dr. Twin Green with Link and Option Center. All right, and that's out of Chi-Town, where it's cold. Oh, it's so cold. Oh my goodness. Y'all are used to that. See, that's why God blessed me in this wonderful climate, because I don't know. I tell you, I don't know. But I would love, I've visited there before. It's a beautiful place, by the way. It is beautiful. So before we take the last call of just any more callers, it does. Y'all used to that. That's amazing. Like I said, I give you all the props. I want to know one thing too. Where do you see your future plans are going, Dr. Green? Where with your organization, your business, and your the community effort that you are then being a part of. What do you see this evolving to? Like, is there any future plans you have, to help the families?
Well,
I want to be a part of that. Just
you want to be a part of it. I want you to.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
The healthcare industry and marketplace is huge. Um, and I think what I'm looking at is I serve more people in the South suburban Cook County area, which you're unfamiliar with how the geography is, but we're right next door to Chicago. I could, it's just like 2 minutes. You're in the city limits of Chicago, so we're close. We're not way out. But I service Chicago and uh,
Mm-hmm.
residents in Chicago, and as well as the South suburban Cook County area. But the resources in the Southland, the South suburban Cook County area, Southland is what we call it, are uh, unequal to the city of Chicago. Less providers, population is great, is huge, need is huge. Uh, and my goal is just to bring more resources into the South Cook County area and build more service delivery
Mm-hmm.
systems for for
Mm-hmm.
everyone. It's just not about the black and brown. It's just everyone that's in need should have it. Uh, and expanding the agency to be bigger and to be able to have the capacity to serve more and be a
Mm-hmm.
hub for all systems, healthcare systems, in a coordinated fashion, that we know that we're taking care of the people that are most in need, because isn't going away. So this is
Correct.
my area of expertise, and I want to make it bigger and better in every aspect of the way that I possibly can. So that's my goal. It's just to keep building on the foundation that I already have for 29 years, and be able to serve more people with uh, sustainable resources. And that's why I don't chase grants.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I want to be able to make sure that people know that this agency is in this place for my need, to service my need. So what
Right.
it looks like, that's what it is.
Absolutely. We really do. I mean, we do have different resources here in the Atlanta area, but when you just, just from talking with you thus far this morning, I truly believe that there's definitely needs to be an extension here in the inner city. In the
Mhm.
inner city, there is no, in the inner city of Atlanta, there is no real, I would say, resource that is what you're describing. I mean, I can definitely see the compassion, and I'm sure they have organizations there that are, showing or doing something, but this is different. This is different, and I mean, like I said, I know different organizations down in the city corridors. Like uh, down to that's at the inner city. I'm talking about to the areas of the poor, low economical areas. That if your child is subject to a situation, whatever it is, family, environmental, financial, whatever, saying there's not a lot of resources there for
No,
them.
no.
And like you say, it doesn't matter the color or whatever the case is, but we do know because of our populations in the inner cities, in certain boroughs, what I'm saying, are more minority than they are Caucasian. What I'm saying? So there's no Asian race there. Okay, Caucasian race may be minimum. You may see more Hispanic. Are either the Black American, families. Those are the families that have been really, truly neglected over periods of time, if I could say that candidly, because I see that myself every day.
Yeah.
So the communities that are there, the recreational, the organizations, or whatever churches, or whatever the case may be, still don't have the components of change. They don't.
Yes.
It's not effective enough. Something's not working because you can still, when you look at the criminal or the crime statistics on this,
Hmm.
that's your answer. When you see a mother and a father get in an altercation, father picks up the gun, kills the mother, then kills his children, then kills himself. I call it murdercide
Mm.
because that's
I
what it
love
is.
murder side. Yeah. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
aside. So this is what my focus on. I have a program under the Journeys Life Ministries because that's my tax exempt non tax exempt number of almost at 501(c). But underneath that is Keys for Freedom Inc. Keys for Freedom Inc. And it's a program focusing on domestic family violence that individuals and their families that have been affected. Because somewhere all over the nation, children are suffering because of a parent that's been murdered by another parent or had committed suicide, or families have been affected because the mother and the father, were affected by murder, and then the children also end up being murdered. Now the families, the outer corridors of those families are affected. So what's the answer? You know what I'm saying? How do we as a people really
Mhm.
come to a very very epidemic, that I call it, because that's what it is. It's an epidemic. Since 2020, like I said, the veil was pulled off. So whatever defective, whatever dysfunctional, whatever it was that was hidden is now no longer hidden at all. And
Yeah.
it has festered. It's toxic to our children and our youth, and it is what it is.
And you know,
It is what it
I
is.
will share one thing. I stay in my mental health lane so much that I think I forget about the other things that I am doing, and I would like to just share this with you, Dr. Green. Naima was actually there, and to your listeners as well. On February the 1st, we and my organization and Dr. VJ Prabhaka, who is actually the president of the new Gandhi King Center for Nonviolence, just launched its opening of that initiative in the community of Inglewood is where it's going to be centered. And Inglewood is one of the most devastated communities, impoverished communities uh, in the city of Chicago. And we are trying to help those residents in that community to breathe again. And I'm pointing that because that
Mm,
is so important, that the resources, we're breathing resources back into that community because it's gang infested,
yes,
and it is, it needs a lot of resources and attention. Uh, it's unbelievable. And I was reared, I'm not going to say raised. I was I was reared up until age 3 in that community, and then my father moved us out of the Inglewood community because he saw at that time in 1962 that the gangs were going to take over, and his teenage sons, he did not want them to get caught up in it, and he moved us, the entire family, and for the better, into another community, Morgan Park Thriving Community New. But just to say this is something that the new Gandhi King Center for Nonviolence is going to be something for everyone to look at and want to be a part of. So I would definitely keep you informed as we, you know, keep moving and making this, because we will.
please,
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be doing some great things, right in the community.
absolutely. I mean, like I said, we're supposed to connect. This was not a happenstance or just a coincidence, because the need is so great. It
It is.
really is. And again, as I always say to myself when I go in to talk to my patients or clients or what have you, I said if I can save one life, I've done my job.
Yeah,
If I
absolutely.
can save just one,
That's what
I've
Jesus
done my
said.
job. I can go home, lay my head on the pillow. That's what he said, right?
That's what
That's
Jesus
all he
said.
want to do is save one. If I save one, I've done my job.
You're gonna
Yes,
get the
ma'am.
rest of
Because
them.
we may not can save everybody.
Yeah.
I don't expect to.
Start with that one
We
and
may
then
not. We
hey,
can,
race
we
them
get a
through together.
blowhorn, right?
Absolutely.
I've done
Yeah.
my job. I feel good about that. The family comes back to the facility and says, thank you. Just thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for helping us because we didn't know what to do.
I,
We
I
had
got a
no thought we
question.
had to give up the child and the child go into a system. Hold on
Yeah.
one
Well,
second, Sage. The child will go into a system. Don't you know it's to the point where they don't know what to do anymore. They bring them to mental health hospitals
yeah.
and they literally tell staff, the social service, he can't anymore. Could you
Yeah.
find a place for him? Because
I
we
can't
can't
do
do this anymore. We've been doing it for 5 years, and he's been in and out, in and out, in and out, constantly. And it could be a point where it's so bad that they can't go, they can't sleep because they think he's going to commit suicide. It's to the point, and the inpatient stays. When you see a child, and I just want to say this real quick, Mamie, when you see a child from ages 6 all the way to 15, and they had 9 and 10 inpatient stays.
Oh,
I'm talking
yes.
about 9 and 10 hospital
That's what
in
we're saying. Yes.
admittance and staying in there. This is
wow.
when you know this is a big problem, and that family says, "I can't do this anymore." Could you find a place for them? Don't want to go call the Department of Children Welfare, do whatever you want to do. I
Yes.
can't do this anymore. They need residential care. They're out
Mhm.
into the system, to state custody until it's 18 years old and get passes off the family, and God forbid them to get more traumatized.
Mhm.
This is
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
We,
Naima.
we have that same dynamic here, uh, Dr. Debbie, and all of most of the parents that are bringing their children to us are always asking to see the
Mm-hmm.
psychiatrist because they want to get them medicated. And so
Mm.
we prescribe medication. We don't administer except for those that have, the adult populations that have a disorder of schizophrenia. But if so medication, they think that is the it and all. That is the savior. Give them some psychotropic medication, and everything is going to be okay. And
Yes.
that's 4-year-olds. Remember, I told you
Mm-mm.
I had 4. They want to the parents cannot handle it. This pandemic has really hurt our families.
Wow.
Have really hurt our families. Now, Naima, I know you wanted to say something, but I just had to.
Well,
Dr. Taylor was on
when
it.
you well, when you mentioned the gang situation, and that being something your parents saw, okay, we got to get out of here. But what I've learned from my students who, let me know, yeah, we're in a gang, and here, let me show you a handshake. I mean, they they are looking for a family to belong to with a strong male image that they can emulate, because they don't have that once the father is missing from their lives. So the structure that they find is one of, a sense of brotherhood that they may not be getting at home for whatever reasons, when families break apart.
Right.
The feeling of support, the camaraderie, belongingness, purpose, strength, uh, empowerment, all of that they get by belonging to a group of men that financially support them with an enterprise. So
Yeah.
I understand very much the strong draw that has for our young men. And when we don't have an alternative, we say, oh, your gangs are bad, get out of gangs, and you go to jail. Well, in the jail, they are still flourishing because it's still that structure that men need. They need a brotherhood. They need camaraderie. They need the feeling of belongingness. They need a feeling of power. So us attacking gangs doesn't attack the problem. We're attacking the symptom of a problem, which is a feeling of isolation and no belongingness and no family.
Being boxed in.
Yes. So do you see a way that the mental health community can work with people? We can not see anybody as the enemy, but see all of us as human beings who are trying to fulfill human needs. Even with those street organizations, yes, they may be doing things illegal, dangerous, violent, but they're all human beings that are trying to fulfill a need. Is there a way at some point to heal the hurt, even in the most notorious gang leaders, so that what they do can still be done in a valuable, constructive way, the way many street organizations were first formed as a means to create an organization of unity in the community.
Right.
Now, of course, it's been used for drug trafficking and weapons trafficking and all of that. But the social and emotional support factor is there and needed. So is there a way we can all work together for the good, even though we're seeing the negative consequences of what has happened? But can we involve all human beings in this healing process? Is there a way to do that?
I don't have
That's
an
a hard
answer.
one. That's a hard one.
Yeah, I don't have an answer.
That's a hard one.
These the leaders are not the leaders of before. The gang leaders are not the leaders before. And this generation of gang leaders right now, they're playing from a different playbook.
Mm-hmm.
And
that foundation of consciousness is not
there.
there.
Consciousness is not there. And
No.
the old heads used to be able to control things, and safety was not that much of an issue for the average person to walk the street. If you were interrupting something, then that's a different situation. But now it's out of control. I don't know what that answer is, but we have got to, we've got to do something. And I think I've learned a lot this past week from some organizations that actually work in the Inglewood community, trying to make the community safe to just pump gas at the gas station.
Yeah.
That's how serious it is, So, the conversations just has to keep, happening, and getting to the right people that can get to the right people that can get to the right people, and see what other conversations can start. Because I don't know.
I mean, there are people who are able to work with those who are in the streets creating the problem.
Yes.
And everybody is a soul. Everybody's a soul on a journey, even if they're going through the worst part of their journey, even if that journey is carjacking and sticking up people. Something inside of them is still the power of God.
It is
to be reached. And if we can touch the soul that has been led astray and is going astray and is creating the problem, and we can bring them back to themselves, then we can solve the problem. And I think that because
we got a few more minutes here.
That happened. That's my thought. If we can connect with those people. If we can connect
got a few more. See, that right there can go on and on and on. Yeah. It's we got about 3 more minutes, so we will make sure that Dr. Twin go ahead and say her piece. But let me tell you something about what y'all got. And it's only going to take me 1 minute to 60-second speech. Right, what's happening is we have fell away of God. Number one. Number two is that because of the toxicity in the minds of God's people have actually been corrupted and corrupted. Number three, until we go back to the foundations of understanding and comprehension of what life is supposed to be, which is lessons, instructions for eternity, then we're not going to get the bigger picture at all. We're just going to continue to self defeat, self sabotage, and self destruct. And that's what some people, this is what they do normally. That's what you're talking about, game members. This is what they do every single day because they've been it's ingrained subconsciously, it's ingrained consciously. They have no self awareness, they have no emotional availability. All of that has ceased. It's wonderful to say, I wish I could help them. I help. No, the communities have to get in point, become more self-aware and create a place of safety for the children. Because if you're doing it for children, you're not doing it for the elders, then it's not being done at all.
Yeah.
That's on that.
Well, that's what our Gandhi King Center for Nonviolence is going to be focusing on, Naima, a whole lot. So that that's the start.
And how can you get in touch with the Gandhi King Center for
Thank you.
60 seconds.
I'm sorry, something happened. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, how do people get in touch with the Gandhi King Center for Nonviolence?
I will give you that information. It's a email for Dr. Vijay Prabhakar. I can share his phone number if that will help for now.
Yes, if people want to call and say,
yeah, people want to call and say, yeah, that. So, but while I'm looking for that number in my phone, what I'd like to say is I have truly enjoyed being on the show today. And I look forward to an invitation to come back. Dr. DJ's number is area code 773-865.
You come every day if you want to.
773-865-1722. And so let him know that you would like to learn more about the Gandhi King Center for Nonviolence and how you'd like to be a part, support, and be a resource to it.
Naima, so we can
but I am so excited. I have not had much sleep last night because I was excited about being on the show today and with my sisters, Dr. Debbie Green and Naima, and we went to grammar school together, and we have reconnected. So God is good.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And to the mental health,
he is. Yes,
keep doing what you're doing. Keep caring.
Well, we're gonna definitely forget.
Yes. Well, we thank you so much for being with us.
That's the only thing I know what to do.
Inviting you back.
Absolutely. We're gonna be calling you soon.
Okay, I look forward to it.
We've come to the end of our show today, but you can hear every
and if
show
we didn't get to you on the
archive
switchboard, if you just tap one, we got to go. We do leave on time on Thursday because Dr. Green, she got to go to work. Both of them.
You can also hear today's show on the Soulful Solutions Facebook page. Go to www.facebook.com/. Leave your comments about today's show. You can always
thank you, Facebook watchers. I appreciate you coming here every Thursday at 8 a.m., 7 a.m. Standard Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Watch our TV show. Listen to our radio show.
Subscribe to our channel.
Get your copy of the book, The
Thank
Female
you
Solution.
so much.
On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's